Well, hello there. This is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Merch at chessnoob64.com. Now, I just played this game recently, a couple of days ago, against an Indian player, and they were rated quite a bit lower than me. And something's been happening with chess.com recently where sometimes I select random matchup and it takes a really long time for a matchup to occur for a 15+10 game, and I'm getting some opponents rated quite a bit less. And this new Indian friend is about 600 points lower. However, it's a really interesting game. They played, I thought, really, really well. And one of the things I observed, and this could just be a statistical fluke from some of the Indian players, is they play some really interesting lines and potentially play quite well, thinking in ways that I don't necessarily expect from people rated in the at an ELO rating of the 700s. And of course, India at the moment is probably one of the powerhouses in terms of international chess. Now, I've got the white pieces in this game, and I of course start with e4. Now, my opponent starts with Alekhine's defense, and of course that's a little bit unusual. Now, usually when I encounter this, it's just someone, just playing around, but it became obvious that my Indian friend knew something about the opening and they were playing really aggressively. So against this, what I decided to play is the other knight, knight c3, and now they played the Scandinavian variation. Really interesting. So aggressive, immediately contesting the pawn. I decided to push the pawn to e5, attacking, and they decide to do a symmetrical move. How interesting. So I take and they take back. Now here I decided to blink. I was wondering whether or not I should capture this way, and Stockfish thinks that that's actually the best move. So Stockfish recommends captures and then captures, and then here I capture. With an attack on the queen, and then the best move is queen captures queen, bishop captures queen, bishop captures pawn in the long diagonal, and then of course long castles. And that potentially is looking okay for white. The rook potentially sort of looks at that open central file. That bishop potentially has good places to go. Bishop here as well. And chess continues. It's mostly in equal position. So white here, where did we get to? Here. So white here is slightly ahead. So it's about plus 0.3. But here I decided I blinked. I blinked. This is sort of like a game of chicken. I decided to blink and I captured with the B pawn towards the center. I was thinking here potentially I could take a sort of big center. And actually that did happen. So here, black captured this way, symmetrically, when they really needed to capture in that other direction. So here, I've got a bit of an advantage again. I think it's about plus 0.3, but now d4, I've got the center. And one of the things, of course, with white is I get to move first. So symmetrical type moves, so mirror moves or symmetrical moves, often eventually break at a certain setting because white goes first. Now here, black played, keeps playing the symmetrical move, d5, immediately contesting the center. But you can see Stockfish thinks that wasn't the best move, developing the knight was better. And here it's about plus 0.8, but I can't get mad at that. That's so aggressive. I like it. However, here I knew that taking this way was probably not the right approach because, they get to take back this way. The queens look at each other. If they take, I'm forced to move my king. So here I decided to just develop my bishop. Bishop looking at that pawn. I thought this was potentially a really potentially powerful attack. And I actually saw something else as well. So here I thought it'd be useful for me to sort of describe the way I'm thinking. So what I was hoping for potentially is if black captures this way, and I just left it. Let's say I decide to gambit a piece and they take this way. And then suddenly we've got a fully open d file. What would that look like? Captures here, captures, and then check, take, and then I could win the queen. So that was potentially what I was thinking of. However, in this game, what actually happened was they decided to play that move. So they didn't take in the center. They should have developed their knight. So this queen side expansion isn't good because I've got that attack. And that's very difficult actually for black to defend, because once the queen goes here, let's say the queen goes here, if they try to block this way, it doesn't work because of course the pawn is pinned. So here, however, I decided, even after that move, I wanted to see whether or not I can try to get that queen trade. However, they don't bite. Maybe they saw it. They decide to continue to advance to push on the queen side, but you can see it's a mistake. Now, the attack's in the center. It's on the king side. Here, I just pull my bishop back, and now they put the queen. So here, I completely decided there's nothing here left. Queen here, however, I was pretty sure was bad. Again, the attack is going to be in the center, the king is in the center, or on the king side. And this is one of these things, you know, black is playing very aggressively. Attack after attack after attack, and there's a downside there, because when you push the attack, you're not creating a defensive structure. You're not thinking about the defense of your king. And ultimately, king defense, king safety is the first priority. Here, you know, attacking that pawn, you know, that looks like it's a good move, but I can just block that. So knight to e2, and there's nothing. That queen is misplaced. Again, no bishop here, that's the wrong move. They need to develop the other way. This bishop is stuck behind this pawn, and now I short castles. However, again, you know, I'm impressed by those moves, because now rook to g8. So clearly they were thinking of a potential tactical attack, because if they move that pawn like that, it looks like they've got this very powerful double attack down the g file. However, I knew that there was, after sort of evaluating that for a little bit, you know, I was calculating in the game, I thought for a while, I just knew that there was nothing there. There was nothing there. So I take this way, opening up that d file, which is now fully open, king stuck in the center. You know, they can't castle short. If they castle long, they have to move their bishop, but you know, they've moved all the defensive pawns on the queen side. Their king is stuck in the center, and that is a problem. They push that pawn, so looking at making that attack, but the reason I knew when I calculated it was fine is because the bishop to d5, attacking the bishop, potentially there's an attack on the rook, and here what they needed to do was to block the attack, but I think they thought that their bishop was lost, and so trades, and now my queen has infiltrated. You know, king very, very exposed, a rook is stuck, and in this position, black brought their queen back, you know, wanting to trade queens, but I don't need to trade queens. Queen captures rook. They try to trade queens. I don't have to trade queens. Queen captures pawn. You know, they capture here, rook to the center, so rook, whoops, to the center, so rook to ad1, pinning that knight, potentially the very powerful attack on the king, and once again, black wanted to trade queens. They thought a little while for that move, but that's a blunder because the d7 square is completely exposed. Queen captures knight on d7, and that is mate. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is that you can't just launch attack after attack with no regard for king safety. Eventually in the middle game, when the attack fizzles out, your king is going to be in some big trouble. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.